This video will contain spoilers. This is my second time recording this. The first time it just crashed for no reason. Unless maybe accidentally tilting your phone causes it to stop recording. Anyway. Before we get into it, there's just a comment I want to make about Dawn of the Planet of the Apes, because there's something I forgot to mention in the review. There's a couple other things that I wanted to mention, but I forget them now, so we'll do them now. But what I want to say is that there's a great mix of comedy, action, and dramatic moments, and the only thing that really rivals it is Shameless. But what I meant to say, I don't know what I just said, but what I meant to say was great mix between drama, comedy, and wholesome moments. Anyway, Boy Kills World, universally or mixed ratings. I watched it in the cinema. Bill Skarsgård, Famke Janssen, Samara Weaving is not in this. She was initially, but because of scheduling conflicts, couldn't do it. H. John Benjamin, Charlotte Copley. I really like it. I feel like this is the kind of thing that a lot of people go into without realizing it's a comedy, and then get upset that it's a comedy. It's so unrealistic, even though that was the whole point. I'm not sick anymore. All I really have is some phlegm, but it's mostly my ears now that are annoying me, because they keep blocking, and it seems like they can't both be unblocked. If my left ear is blocked, I try to unblock, and my right ear will immediately block. Although my right ear seems to block up way worse than my left ear for some reason. And trying to pop it is not good, because it's sort of like trying to blow up. It's trying to blowing a balloon. You need to, and we're not talking about blowing up a balloon to tie it up. The point is to blow it up so much to the point where it bursts. Because in this metaphor, the bursting is the ear actually popping. But if you get to a sort of holding point where it's blown up quite well, but it hasn't burst yet, the ear will block worse than it was before it wasn't. Before you attempted to unblock it. And then you just sort of have to wait a bit for there's this really sharp sound that it makes. It's kind of like a balloon deflating. That's why I'm using a balloon metaphor. And it's just, Mum says it's a cold, but I'm starting to think that it isn't. It maybe it started with it, but it's now independent of it. Anyway, yeah, the action in this is very good. I wouldn't say great, but for what it is, it's there was a bit where he's in a sort of warehouse killing people, and during that he sort of parkours his way into an office, kills some people there, goes outside the office, kills some people that were on some stairs above him, and it kind of reminds me of the prison fight from Arrow, the one where Ricardo Diaz just completely controls the entire prison. That fight, bit similar to this. So that's always great. I think season 7 of Arrow had the best action out of the entire show, which is saying a lot, because the show, is one of the best shows for action. But anyway, I like it's sort of, I thought it was based on a comic book, But no, I think it's an original story. But I do like how it's. I like its presentation. Also, like H. John Benjamin's voice acting in this, which is a bit weird because I couldn't get into Archer or Bob's Burgers. So it's weird seeing something that he's in that I actually like. Anyway, can't think of anything else to say. Bill Skarsgård's acting in this is quite good. I don't think it's perfect, but I mean, it. You would think that playing a deaf and mute man would be easier than playing a normal person, but no, it isn't. Because you need to convey everything with your face, and that's not always easy to do. But yeah, it's his acting isn't perfect, but it is good. Also like the ending where the reveal that boy, I think they do actually give him a name, but I mean for the most part he's just called Boy. He it's revealed that he actually Famke Janssen's son, even though he was brainwashed by a rebel to make it his goal to kill her. And then they reveal that he is her son, and that does kind of throw a spanner into it because it's like, well, where do you go from here? Do you like what is he gonna all of a sudden join her, or is he gonna kill her anyway? And then they do a callback to earlier in the film where him and his sister were sort of like, well, we don't like what our family does. We don't like all this totalitarian bullshit. So let's kill her, kill the rebel, and just live our own lives. And I do feel like that's the best ending that you could have done for this. And because of all the totalitarian stuff, it feels like the way this presents itself is kind of like a less cringe version of Captain Laserhawk. So that's I like Captain Laserhawk, but it is a very cringe show, and this dials the cringe way down. So that's really good. Um, Also, it for some reason I got Far Cry 6 vibes from it for some parts. I think it's like the costuming and the some parts of the cinematography and shit. Also, I don't know what it is. There was a fight between Boy June 27, his sister, and Mentor. Okay. Uh, there was a sort of lack of sound to it. Like there wasn't really music during their fight, and the only sound was them sort of grunting because it's a fight. And there's something about that like I remember talking in my Oscars video from this year that like what who really gives a fuck about sound other than like the score. But there's something about this that I really liked, like that lack of music, where it was just the sounds of the actual fight. Saw X mixed ratings. I watched it on Amazon. Tobin Bell, Shawnee Smith, Costner. I quite like it. This is the third Saw film I've seen. Um, I was planning on watching them in order, but what happened was that before I went to the cinema to watch Boy Kills World, I saw that Ginger had created a party on PlayStation, and he was the only one in it, so I thought, I'll go to the cinema, and by the time I come back, the party will be full. But when I came back, it was still just him, and by 5 minutes into me being in the party, he was like, I don't know what to do. And I said, what games do you have? Oh, nothing I want to play right now. Okay, I'll go on the Netflix and see what's on there. He's like, no, I don't have Netflix on my PlayStation. So it's like, okay. Well, while I'm here, I might as well just look at what's coming out. And while I was doing that, he's like, oh, you want to watch? I'm gonna try to find. I'm a deaf cunt, so he's like, you want to watch Saw? But what I heard was, you want to watch Saw? What? X? Well, like the Jenna Ortega film. What? No. Saw. Okay, sure. What's it on? Prime. And then I was like, oh, Saw X. Okay. It turns out he has seen Saw 2 because he knew about like the gas house. He remember watching the gas house film, which that's Saw 2. So when it came to his opinion on it, he hated it. Although most of the things that he had to say about it applies to the majority of the Saw films. Like, it's just a staple of them. There was something that he did point out that I do agree is bullshit. The fact that the traps aren't fair. And these are traps that are set by John. These weren't set by Amanda. Like, it makes sense if it were Amanda or Hoffman doing it, because they make unfair traps, but these were set up by John. Like, there's like a sort of concept joke trap that John just imagines at the start, and then there's one where he's basically just torturing the guy for information, and then the film actually gets into it, like maybe 45 minutes into it. I didn't have a problem with that, by the way. And the first trap of that, I'm just gonna call that the first trap. I know it's not, but let's just say it is. First trap is saw your leg off, and then like put this suction tube into it, and basically fill this vial up with like so much blood. You have 3 minutes to do this, and yeah, the victim of it took her time to get started, but I mean, once you actually saw your leg off and start filling up the vial, like, all you have to do is wait. So it's not really fair. Like, the timer should end at that point. But no, she stuck the chip in with like 10 seconds left, but 10 seconds wasn't enough to fill up the file to like the point that it needed to be up to. So it wasn't fair at all. Even if she were to immediately start sawing her leg off and doing all that, it still wouldn't be enough time. And that was the same for the majority of the traps. Like, the next one was cut out a bit of your brain, put it into this container with like some sort of acid in it, wait for it to dissolve. Once it's fully dissolved, this door will open and there'll be a key inside the door. Use that key to free yourself. And once again, Kai hesitated a bit, but eventually he started. He cut the bit of his brain out, put it in the thing, and by the time he put it in the thing, there was maybe 10 seconds left on the timer, and once again, dead. The rest of it was not like that. The first chap was the person actually got out of it, but then the sort of head. Hold on, I need to like blow my nose and shit. Okay, so Cecilia, who is the head of this whole scam operation, is an absolute psychopath, and they have no explanation for it whatsoever. And it's kind of like that reveal in Predators, where Topher Grace's character, it turns out he's a serial killer. Actually, that makes more sense than this. Because I mean, she's just a con artist, and don't get me wrong, what she does is pure fucking evil, like preying on the sick and the desperate and all that. But like, why did she all of a sudden like want to murder a child just to piss John off? Like, what the fuck? Uh, I think that's it for the complaints I have about the film. Like everything else that Ginger pointed out is stuff that I don't have a problem with because it's a staple of Saw. Like the fact that they don't bother de-aging John. Because I mean, this takes place not long after Saw 1, where Tobin Bell was 62 when he started in that, but now he's 81. Like playing, you know. Plus, John is actually much younger than Tobin Bell. Like, canonically, John was born in 1954, meaning he was 50 when Saw 1 happened, and between 50 and 51 at the events of this. So he's an 81-year-old playing a 51-year-old. Same goes for Amanda. Like, Shawnee Smith was 35 doing the first film, and she does not, she did not look it at all. Like, that surprised me when I found out she was 35. I thought she was in her 20s. I don't know if they reveal Amanda's age, but let's just assume 35. No, they didn't bother the aging her, and she doesn't look like someone 54, but she does look not 35, if you know what I mean. I don't mind that because that's just something that they're known for. Like, you know, in 6 or 7, like they shown that John was younger by having him wear a fucking baseball cap. I didn't mind that. Uh, so, you know, but Ginger just, I think it maybe he hasn't seen any of them in a very long time. There was something I need to point out. Like the entire series does a lot of weird shots, and I think that's because the first one was made in 2004, and that might have been more common in 2004. And just they decided to keep it as like a sort of staple of the series. But I mean, in 2023, just why? Like, it happens during the eyeball trap scene where the same thing that with the reverse bear trap where they just sort of circle the cunt really fast, and then in the post credit scene where they sort of do like they tilt the camera 360 degrees really fastly. Also, another thing Ginger pointed out is that the eyeball trap doesn't really make sense. Because, one, as far as I know, it's the only trap in the entire franchise that doesn't kill if you fail. Like, it just takes your eyeballs out, which they don't show him dying, and in real life, I don't think that if that were to happen, you would die. But also, it's just 1 minute to turn a dial and break all of your fingers on one hand, or get your eyeball sucked out. I get that there's a lot of pain and your brain just sort of prevents you from turning the dials, but I mean, if it were me, I think I would just, instead of doing one at a time, just try and twist the entire thing all the way immediately. Uh, and then get out, because I think maybe what happened was that they designed the logo for the film before they wrote the trap. That's what it seems like, but I don't know. I think that's all there is. Oh, the other thing. I was planning on mentioning this in my Saw 4 or 5 review, but we're on 10 films and it's getting a bit repetitive. Like, I feel like the majority of the films can be split up into 3 different categories. The first one is the group going through traps where one of them dies each time, even though they could have easily all survived if they weren't pricks. So that's Saw 2, Saw 5, and Jigsaw. Then there's the one character going through different traps where he has to save other people. That's Saw 3, Saw 6, Saw 7, possibly. Yeah. Uh, yeah. And then the third category is basically just the more unique ones, like Saw 1, Spiral, Saw X, Saw 4, I guess, although that feels more like Saw 3. The sort of individual killing others one. I think I've covered all of the films. Yeah. And this one they try to be more unique, although it basically just is the same as Saw 1. They tried to do something different, and for the most part they did. It worked. I like it. Actually, there's one more thing I want to say. There's a line of dialogue where it seems like John has basically given up. It turns out that this right here was a scam, which, by the way, I get he's desperate, but I mean, how the fuck did he not see this coming? Like, he should have looked at the website at the start, looked at the videos, and was like, yeah, this is definitely a scam. But no, he didn't. But there's a line of dialogue where he's talking to Amanda. It basically just seems like he's given up, like he's no longer gonna try and get someone to cure the cancer for him. Which doesn't make sense considering this takes place before Saw 3, where the plot of that is that they kidnap a doctor and her game is cure John or die. Actually, there is 2 more things. Other than what I just mentioned, they did a good job of not fucking with the timeline. And then post-credit scene, great having Hoffman back. He actually looks basically the same as he did during the original series, like 3 to 7. But something that I didn't get was the fact that they put that guy in the bathroom that one takes place in. That also Eric Matthews was put in at the end of two, and then eventually Hoffman at the end of seven. I feel like with two, it's because it's the second film they wanted to do a callback to the first one. Then with seven, they thought this is the end of the series. We want to do a callback to the first one, but with this, yeah, okay, it's a reboot. We want to do a callback to the original, but it feels like it makes less sense than the other two. Feels like there's another cinema review today, but I'm guessing the reason why it feels like that is because I actually went twice. For first time was for the re-release of the Phantom Menace, which I've already seen, so there's no review for that. So that's probably why it feels like there's a second one. Anyway, War for the Planet of the Apes. Universal Plus ratings, directed by Matt Reeves. I watched on Disney Plus. Andy Serkis, Steve Zahn, Woody Harrelson, Judy Greer, Roger Cross, Jason Clarke does not appear in this. Kirk Acevedo does not appear in this. Cody Smith-McPhee does not appear in this. Okay. Surprised they didn't put Dave, or not, I keep on saying Dave Franco, James Franco. Surprised they didn't give him credit. He also does not appear in this. Now that I think about it, I don't think there's a single human that appears in all three films. Anyway. I'm sort of conflicted with how they treated Caesar in this film, because killing him off kind of feels like the way that they killed off John Wick. But at the same time, it makes sense. Also, I'm conflicted with the fact that, they named him Caesar, but he didn't end up actually being like Caesar. Because I thought, oh, we're going to name him Caesar, and then at the end of this franchise, he will be betrayed the same way that Julius Caesar was. But they didn't do that, and yeah, I see why they wouldn't. It makes sense that they wouldn't, but at the same time, it doesn't feel right. Anyway, that's, I think, all I have to say about Caesar. It's also going to be hard to say things about this because I seen it like last Thursday, Friday, maybe Saturday the most. No, definitely wasn't Saturday. So it was a couple of days ago. I don't really remember much. I'm gonna have to actually pause the video here, even though I haven't really said anything yet. I like the way that the little girl ends up being like a big part of the plot instead of just some minor character. Because like what happens is that there was a virus in the second film, which is the reason why these two are sort of post-apocalyptic. But they explain in this that the virus is mutated. Instead of outright killing people, it leaves them just mute, unable to talk. And that's sort of like how they defeat Woody Harrelson's character, because he treats this virus the way I treat the cold. Like, do literally anything you can to prevent it from happening, and then when it actually does happen to him, he'd rather kill himself. And like the way that he gets it is because the little girl has it. She has this toy, she ends up giving the toy to one of the apes. And I think what happens is that one of the, by the way, for the most of this film, the majority of the apes are prisoners in this FEMA camp that Woody Harrelson and his gang have taken over, and they explain that, you know, before the apocalypse, this FEMA camp was a depot, like an armory, but it's a fucking FEMA camp. Like that's not its purpose. And I really hope that they're not trying to like do some sort of metaphor here, where it's like, oh, FEMA, they only exist to treat migrants like the way the fucking Jews were treated in World War II. Anyway, she gives the toy to one of the apes. I think it was Caesar. One of the guards notices, gives it to Woody Harrelson, and then, you know, eventually he becomes infected. I thought that was absolute genius. Um, I thought I went to the bathroom while I was thinking that I thought of something else, but now I don't remember what I thought. Oh, it feels weird that this entire trilogy you are sympathetic to the apes. Like, first film I get. I mean, the second one they could have took it in the direction of the humans fighting to take the planet back, and they didn't do that. Which, I mean, I think Caesar is a great character, but just I went into this thinking that he was going to be the villain, and that the trilogy was about the humans fighting back. But they they did the opposite, and they made it work really, really well. There's no Last of Us 2 bullshit in this. That's probably all I have to say about it. I'm going to pause the video just in case.